Number 38 is not that hard considering it's the last question on the test. It's basically just about sorting through all this information. And the most important thing you can do when there's a confusing story, lots of numbers flying around, is just keep track of them all. So show your work. We should be doing this on every question, but honestly here, it's really the difference between making sense of this and not. So just go through the pieces of information and pull out what seems important, right? So a school district is forming a committee to discuss plans for the construction of a new high school. Great, who cares? Of those invited to join the committee, 15% are parents, so 15% parents. 45% are teachers from the current high school, so 45% teachers. 25% are school and district administrators, so 25% administration. And the remaining 6 students, the 6 individuals are students. So notice that's not a percentage. So I'm going to kind of keep that off to the side, 6 students. What do I do with that? How does this random kind of information mixing with everything else that I know, the percentages? Well, hopefully just seeing those percentages in a row, you're like, well, okay, percentages, there's 100%. So let's see what we're up to. All right, we have a calculator. This isn't hard. 15 plus 45 plus 25 is 85%. But we know we need to get to 100. So what's missing? Well, that means that there's 15% that's missing. So those 15% are the students. Okay, well, let's work with that. Now, this is a percentages question, and in number 37, I talked about a new kind of formula that you can use to better keep track of percentages on the SAT. I'm going to use that same formula here. Remember, you have to be open to this new formula, and I call it that because it's the open formula. The original times the percentage equals the new amount, okay? So we don't know the original. We do not know the total number of people who are at this meeting. That's our X. We do know a percentage, though. We know that 15%, and we write it as a decimal, 15% of that original amount were students, the 6 students. So we're used to using percentages through multiplication, okay? We usually multiply. We're going to do a little of that at the end, but for the SAT, very often they take percentages and they kind of twist them up on you, and they make us divide, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. We need to use division instead of multiplication. And so thanks to my calculator, I can do that easily. 6 divided by 15 is 40. So I know that there are 40 people total at this meeting. That's important. Now, what do we do with that information? Well, they're asking specifically how many more teachers were there than administrators. So we just need to find what are the equivalents to these numbers here. So the teachers, 45% teachers, we can multiply the 40, the original number, by the 45% to get the number who are teachers. This is a very traditional percentage. So 40 times 0.45 is 18 teachers. We can do the same thing. Maybe I should make it clear. It's a decimal, right? The same thing here. The original times the percentage is the kind of new number here. So 25% of 40 is 10. And they're asking for the difference. So 18 minus 10 is 8. And that is the answer here. So yeah, there's a lot of numbers flying around. That makes it kind of tricky. And percentages on the SAT tend to be pretty tricky because they do this kind of backwards thing that we're not used to. But as long as we kind of show our work and use a formula that makes sense, we can avoid any traps and still get the right answer. So as far as last questions go, this one is pretty tame. So maybe it's one that if you feel confident with percentages, you skip to make sure you lock in those points. But it is a little bit time consuming. So I understand if you'd rather skip it and go back to other stuff and make sure you're right on those questions.